Welcome, Necromancers. Bone Spear is finally back on the menu. Putting down your Bone Prison, activating your Soul Rift, and then only overpowers from this point on billions and billions of damage. And if you don't have a Bone Prison, well then you start sucking yourself dry and you die. But as soon as you activate it again, absolutely no problems. And you pretty much always have Bone Prison up. Is it better than the Bloodwave build? Which equipment do you absolutely need to make it work? And how well does it perform against Torment 4 bosses? The big advantage of Bone Spear here is that it works on range. So if I want to do damage to you, I'll put my Bone Prison on the maximum range. You're inside the Bone Prison and I can shoot all the way from back here. Now, how does this look against a tier 4 boss with 156 Paragon points and rather shoddy equipment? You're gonna wait until it's summoned, apply the curse by being close to him, and then we are just spamming away. That's it. Make sure that your Bone Prison is up and you're absolutely just tormenting them. And even without the Soul Rift, you're not running out of essence because you get Lucky Hit to restore essence. Stand there, hold down mouse button, kill. And this is far from the ceiling the build can achieve. And for the pit, the gameplay loop is plenty similar. We've done it up to tier 75 so far. That's 75 behind me. I usually do farm those 65 because that is enough to get my glyphs to level 45 in a reasonable way. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't want to push Pit 100 anyways this season because hell is that tedious. The build in the long run will be easily able to do Pit 100 though with proper equipment. Now for the gameplay loop, we activate our Soul Rift, we run around, put the prison down, and then shoot people in the prison. Now you might notice that our prison cooldown is always up because, well, we have some nefarious means to make this pop easier. And also our Soul Rift is back up again. So prison down, shoot everyone inside, then prison down, shoot everyone inside, and pull people together with your corpse tendrils. And that's pretty much your gameplay loop. Compared to Bloodwave, where you do Bloodwave circle, you pretty much do Bone Prison, shooting, Bone Prison, shooting. You gotta really make sure to have that Bone Prison up at any given moment, because no Bone Prison, no overpowers, and then no heals, because you're only healing if you overpower. If you don't overpower, then you're not healing, and then you're pretty much killing yourself with your abilities. Now in the pit, having your Bone Prison always up is pretty easy, because the enemies have enough HP that you have the time to actually Lucky Hit them, and then restore the cooldown of your Bone Prison. Now, that in the open world can be an issue, or could be an issue, if, well, we didn't actually fix that problem. We'll get to that in the skill section. Because no Bone Prison again, no damage, that means even if you one-hit your opponents, they still have to contribute somehow to you resetting that cooldown. Let's talk about the 3 pieces the build needs to function. That is first, Indira's Memory, which makes your Bone Spear additionally a blood skill. That consumes a corp to launch another Bone Spear, draining 10% of your maximum life. That technically doesn't sound too good, because you're draining yourself empty. But your new Bone Spear specialization says, Bone Spear deals 40% more overpower damage and restores 5% maximum life after overpowering. Now we just need to overpower with every single hit, and that couldn't be easier. Bone Duster aspect. Bone Spear is guaranteed to overpower enemies within Bone Prison. Good. So now we're having our Bone Spear be a blood skill and profit from all the blood scaling. Every single blood overpower, every single blood scaling applies to the Bone Spear. And on top, we have every single Bone Spear overpower and heal us, so they're not killing us anymore. Now the issue is, we need a Bone Prison, and that's the size of a standard Bone Prison. So everyone inside here would, yeah, not too fancy. And that's where the Path of Trag'Oul boots come in. They make a big Bone Prison area to have more enemies get Bone Prisoned and overpowered, as well as Bone Skills and Bone Prison cooldown reduction. These 3 pieces make the build work. You don't even need the Deathless Visage anymore, because they kind of took out the super crit scaling it used to have. It still makes your Bone Spear crit harder, and it increases the chance for Bone Spear projectiles to cast twice, but you technically don't need it. With these 3 pieces, you could get it started. If you then get a Visage with a greater affix chance for Bone Spear projectiles to cast twice, together with a weapon also on chance for Bone Spear projectiles to cast twice, we have that 100% chance of the double cast, together with the cast that's also coming out of the corpses. Now, the big issue the build has is having your Bone Prison up. Take a Helltide, for example. I run around, there's a pack of mobs, I'm going to use my Bone Prison, I'm going to kill them, and now I need the Bone Prison for the next pack of mobs already again, but my cooldown is not there. So I gotta wait for the cooldown to be out, but then I can use the Bone Prison another time, and now luckily I have the Bone Prison up again, I can do damage, and then I need the Bone Prison up again. So you somehow need to make sure to always have your Bone Prison there. Now you do actually notice how I do always have my Bone Prison there, but that is not because we're lucky hitting our opponent. We're making use of the fact that Bone Prison is a bone skill, which allows me to play a very cool passive that was always used for bone skill builds, and that would be Rapid Ossification. Every 100 essence you spend reduces the cooldowns of your bone skills by 30 seconds. Now, you notice that I have 6 ranks in this, because I went so far to actually go for Rapid Ossification Temper, because those 3 seconds are quite nice. I just have to shoot Bone Spear 5 times with the insane attack speed we have, Blood Attack Speed, Blood Attack Speed, Blood Attack Speed, General Attack Speed, and we're just going to be throwing them out at Mach whatever, while we're then restoring the cooldown of the Bone Prison to really be able, no matter which situation, might it be the Helltide, might it be Infernal Hordes, might it be whatever you're doing, just randomly walking around in the world, apparition events, blah, that you always have the Bone Prison. This is especially important as I don't have the rune to cast my Decrepify in a meaningful way. Right now, I could cast Decrepify by casting 5 skills, then become exhausted, or by spending my maximum resource. But if I spend my maximum resource to cast Decrepify, it casts in a circle around me. I don't have the rune to use core skill to cast Decrepify, which then has the Decrepify usually cast around your mouse pointer. Therefore, with this cooldown reduction now, I'm not even reliant on my Decrepify hitting the opponents, as I play the Cursed Aura. Now obviously I could just move the Decrepify in this skill bar, but that means for every pack of mobs I need to do Bone Prison, Decrepify, activate my Soul Rift, probably pull together mobs, and then I'm able to Bone Spear. Like this, I just Bone Prison, Bone Spear, and Soul Rift while I'm actually running into the mobs and just have the cooldown reduction happening. And there's a very fun part about the pants, because they say Bone Spear consumes a corpse to launch another Bone Spear. And it specifically says consume a corpse, which means Grim Harvest works for essence generation, Fueled by Death works for the 9% bonus damage, and on top Flesh Eater is consuming corpses for that 40% multiplier. While with the high lucky hit chance of Bone Spear, you're actually consistently making corpses with Hood Flash. Huh. Yeah. Bone Spear. Very amazing. Now I wouldn't try to level with this build or even use Bone Spear until you have the 3 pieces I mentioned you. So go for Torment 2 with minions, farm these pieces, and then flash out with the other stuff for more damage. And take the right boss powers. We'll get to that in a second. Let's first talk about the gear. We have the Path of Targul. You would like to have the greater affix to bone skills, greater affix to maximum life, and Tides of Blood, because Tides of Blood actually applies to this skill right now. Your blood skills deal 30% increased overpower damage, double if you're healthy. We're always healthy. My skill is a blood skill. 60% more overpower damage. More Tides of Blood, more insane damage. And at the same time though, I deal bonus damage against vulnerable enemies, because evasion counts too. The both amazing skills for bone and blood skills do actually count. Then we get our Bone Spear to always overpower with attack speed and critical strike chance, because you want to desperately have the most amount of critical strike chance. I'm sitting at 50% plus 30% from my boss powers right now, plus another 25% from my runes. 100% always overpower. Chest piece for maximum life. More maximum life is then more damage because we overpower. And we get the Decrepify curse on it to sometimes just walk into monsters, bosses, whatever. On the Deathless Visage, chance for Bone Spear projectiles to cast twice is really handy, as you get 100% easily. Ranks to Bone Spear obviously would be even handier, as that goes up to 10, 11, 12, 13 ranks. For my amulet, there's a very interesting aspect. It's called the aspect of the Dark Dance, which gives your skills that consume life another 120% bonus damage. Ta-ta. Yes. It only says plus 120%, but it feels times 120% for some reason. I played without it, no billions. I played with it, suddenly billions again. For the rings, you want to have lucky hit chance to restore resource. That's how I'm always tapped out on resource. I have my Soul Rift, getting it back, but also the lucky hit chance giving me more back. Then on top, you get your corpse tendril aspect. To boost your critical hit chance, we don't need that, but also to give you that critical strike damage multiplier. And then lastly, your sacrifice bonuses are bigger. We are sacrificing for more crit. We are sacrificing for more overpower damage, and then for more critical strike damage again, to get that trinity boosted up. While my Bone Spear anyways deals more critical strike damage, more damage multiplier. And over your skill tree does another more overpower damage with the overpower from Tides of Blood. And you notice there is quite some awesomeness going on for that Bloody Bone Spear to boost it. To increase this even more, we took Grigoire's Lightning Square. I cast a core skill, I get damage arcing out, and that damage also crits up quite nicely. Thank you, Grigoire's Lightning Square, as that also gets triggered a lot, which allows me to have Belial's Eye Beam. This one doesn't apply as perfect as it should. It's sadly not giving you this 2-second overpower window where all attacks do 30% more increased overpower damage. It still does increase your damage by somewhat. Then with the Sharpshooter's Eye from the Outlaw Sharpshooter, we get another 20% multiplier on distance. Done. Stand far away, blast away, 20% more damage. And right now we're playing the Hatred's Embrace Haste for that 42% crit bonus. 42%, ladies and gentlemen. We don't even need the rune to increase our critical strike damage at this point anymore. We could go back to cast a non-channel core skill with a Tom rune to then trigger what for the Decrepify. Now I did try out the Harbingers of Hatred volley for that 22% increased damage multiplier, but for some reason using your Path of Trag'Oul, which is casting Bone Splinters, depletes your mana in between randomly. So that kind of stinks. If Blizzard fixes that, it's going to be okay. And before you ask, hey, why not Bloodwave over Soul Rift? Because Bloodwave would give us another 80% bonus damage to our blood skills if we then cast Bloodwave. The problem is the Bloodwave would push enemies away out of Bone Prison. Not only that, it's only 80% more damage, whereas Soul Rift gives me Barrier, makes enemies vulnerable, and gives me Essence, while it also gives me 75% bonus damage. So why would I not use Soul Rift, which does everything for me, over Bloodwave just giving me a measly 80% bonus damage? For the Merc, I currently have Variana just to give me more attack speed that I can attack speed out as fast as possible. And in the Paragon board, you want to focus on maximum life. I only have 180 points total, so I had to take as much maximum life as I could while still activating all of my glyphs, like the Eliminator here. Then we have the Bloodbath board for that increased overpower damage with the Essence glyph and all the max life that we can take. Into the Flesh Eater board because of that 40% multiplier that you always activate, with a Corporal glyph for more physical damage and more maximum life. You put the Flesh Eater first because reaching this 380 willpower should be possible. If I adjust the pathing here a little bit to just squeeze out more willpower, then we're leaving the Bloodbath board on top to go into the Send of Death board. 15% damage reduction and 30% more crit damage. Dankeschön, super good. With another potential 8% max life if I get more willpower. Into the Frailty board together with the Dominate glyph. Technically, this board that gives us another 4% max life could be the Blood Begets board just to get that max life over here, and then screw the 40% bonus damage as we just take all the max life that is possible from Blood Begets. We'll have to test that as I have 200 plus Paragon points to really see where can I go with this. Now to the topic of Bloody Bone Spear versus Blood Wave. Blood Wave is very strong. Very powerful. You practically need the pans together with the tidal aspect and the fast blood aspect, and you're good to go as well. 3 pieces as the same 3 pieces for the Bone Spear. That being said, the Blood Wave is a bit easier to play because you just do Blood Wave, walk in a circle, and then Blood Wave again. Whereas with the Bone Spear, you have more moving parts with the Bone Prison and then Bone Spear and then pull them together and then Curse. Bone Spear does do more damage though in the long run, because with Bone Spear, you just hammer them out. You can get so many ranks in it. I have 13 ranks in this right now. You can possibly have 29 ranks in this, which gives you a multiplier that the Bloodwave can't live up to, and you're just throwing more out of them. Bloodwave is limited by cast 1, 2, 3, cast 1, 2, 3, and in the time that I have cast 1 Bloodwave, I've thrown 40 Bone Spears. Damage ceiling vastly higher, is going to eclipse most likely Bloodwave in the long run. But in order to scale, Greater Affix Deathless Visage with the Bone Skills, then Greater Affix Path of Trag'Oul with the Bone Skills, Also, Endurance Memory, greater affix tides of blood, maximum life. Then gloves that actually have bone spear on it. Yeah, you notice it's not that simple to scale this. Where for Blood Wave, you just get gear with more maximum life. Ta-da. What is it going to be for you guys? You're going to play the Bloody Bone Spear? You want to play the Blood Wave? Here's also the Blood Wave build guide for you and general level advice if you haven't done a Necromancer yet. Enjoy and have a fantastic good day.